Hello everyone and welcome back to Age of Nagash for a second time today, which of course is going to be a channel dedicated to Age of Sigmar. And in this video we are going to be talking about Kragnos from Broken Realms Kragnos, because just after I've done the price leaked video literally a few hours ago, there is now a Warhammer community article up which is all about Kragnos himself. It's got some lore in it. It's got obviously his Warscroll, which we will get to. So what I'm going to do in this video is I'm going to read through the article. I haven't already read through it, so pronunciations will be done wrong in this, especially there's bound to be a bunch of new character names and places, etc, etc. However, I just thought rather than me having to read through it and stuff first, I'd rather try and get this video out to you guys as soon as possible, as today does seem to be all about news. I was a little bit surprised to see this about Kragnos today, but then again, that's because I'm thinking like, oh, we've already had the news of the prices, but obviously that was unofficially. And then this is what Games Workshop does, and Games Workshop always just pretends that none of the leaks ever happened. It's like when we all knew about the Soulblight Gravelord rules, and then the following week they were still like, oh, let's find out some news about, I don't know, the Legion of Blood or something like that. And it's like, yeah, we've already seen the rules. You don't need to pretend anymore. But here is something that we have not seen yet. So, Kragnos. So it says, the name of Kragnos was a forgotten one. Not since before Sigmar's reign has he walked among the mortal realms. Now he's set to return in Broken Realms Kragnos this Saturday. Whether you will be following him into battle or desperately shoring up your defences against his attacks, it pays to learn all you can about the god of earthquakes. I mean, that's a pretty good title to have, I think, to be honest. I think, what was he, the Destroyer of Empires or something? It said for his like box title when we read his price earlier, or the End of Empires, something like that. But he is truly a beast, and the artwork here is lovely, of course. And when we're going through the video, let me know in the chat and in the comments and stuff what your thoughts about all this stuff is. So it says, before the time of men, Druiden and elves, and even greenskins, the entirety of the Gurnish heartlands was ruled by many monstrous races that towered over the lesser mortals of the era. One of these tribes was the Drogkruk. Again, the first of many mispronounced names. A powerful centauroid being that, despite their great strength and capacity for war, lived in harmony with the land. So basically, Kragnos race used to be nice, friendly, nature, good guys. It says, legend has it that Kragnos was born to the rulers of Don'ts, the central nation of the Drogkruk, or however that was pronounced, and while his people were content only to take what they need to survive, Kragnos wanted more. Okay, so here was the it was the kind of the first to rebel against his peaceful order. It said, scowled for beating his brother to a pulp over the right to court the same mare. The bad-tempered warrior struck out across Gur with only a small band of trusted companions for company. So there's over a woman, no surprise. So then we have him here, and what I like here, so you've got the size comparison like I was talking about earlier. Like, this guy is £100, and you can see him next to a Mega Gargant. The Mega Gargant is obviously closer to the camera a little bit, so his mass isn't the size of a Mega Gargant, and he's standing on a rock and everything else, but the model itself is as tall. His top of his mace looks like it's about the same height as the top of his head, or the top of the tusk there on his back. And then it says, as they grew skilled in the arts of war. What is the best way to try and pronounce this rather than me just pushing off all the time? So, Drogkruk. I think that's what I'm going to call it. Let me know in the comments what it's actually meant to be. So it said, these Drogkruk fashioned weapons and armour from exposed streams of magna, with Kragnos digging out the heart of a supercharged geomantic nexus to create his prized dread mace. It was around this time that he also recovered the shield Tuskbreaker from a deep ravine, having been hurled in there in fury when Gorkamorka chipped his teeth, testing the great bronze shield like a man might test a gold coin. I mean, like, I think we already knew that before, that he chipped his teeth, but know that it can do that. It means it's a pretty strong shield. It says the Uruks of Gur began to gather around Kragnos, impressed by tales of his rampant destruction, and for his part, Kragnos respected their single-minded brutality and stubbornness. Shamans offered up the marrow of slain monsters and hordes of priceless amber bone, which the Drokrok champion was all too happy to gorge on. As his as his diet of realmstone and monster marrow concentrated the primordial energies of Gur into him, Kragnos began to exhibit abilities beyond any mortal warrior. His ascent to power was marked by the crushing of countless civilizations until word spread across the mortal realms of the end of empires, whose arrival spelt doom for all. So it was the end of empires. But it's interesting to know that he wasn't always as strong as he is now. He fed on the realmstone and the monster marrow and stuff. So that's interesting to know. Like, just look at the size of him compared to like a Maw Crusher as an example. It then says, while the ground had already shaken at his footfalls, it had now cracked and sundered wherever Kragnos went. At the Battle of Blood Gulch, an enormous fissure opened up and swallowed the monster-hunting Gaaga barbarians, whole, giving rise to the legend as the god of earthquakes. Okay, so that's where he gets the name from. And then it says, soon Kragnos' gaze turned to the Draconif, so like the dragons and stuff, once respected allies of the Drukor, or however that was. Now they were merely the latest challenge to his growing power. In an apocalyptic conflict that rendered both races all but extinct, Kragnos crushed the Drakes in their home. But little did he know this conquest would prove to be his undoing. Maybe that explains why there's not really too many dragons in Age of Sigmar. But then it says, after the battle, Kragnos looked around him to see the broken bodies of many of his friends. In his rage, he vowed to wipe out the Dracoline, or Draconif, it's basically Dracoline, from history, trampling every clutch of eggs he could find. Sounds like a perfectly rational, if a bit messy response to us. To be honest, that kind of does explain why there's not really too many dragons in Age of Sigmar, I do feel, because Kragnos has been going around killing them. It's been good that we now have an answer to it. But it says, as he hunted down the last of dragonkind, the surviving Draconif princes beseeched the aid of the ancient intellect known only as Lord Croak. Okay, so that's where he comes into the story. The regal Slann hatched a plan that saw Kragnos drawn into battle atop a great mountain, and finally with the great Drake Dracothian itself lending its divine power, sealed the earthquake god within its granite heart, so in the heart of the mountain. What will happen now that Kragnos has escaped his prison to roam the mortal realms once more? You will have to pre-order Broken Realms Kragnos on Saturday to find out, and it might just be time to muster a few more units for your army if you're not on his side. So it says, not only does the God of Earthquakes have a fascinating backstory, he's got some pretty awesome rules too. Check out his Warscroll, which we'll do now. Just to say, so I'll probably obviously title this video, Kragnos' Warscroll review or something like that. I do think it's useful though, reading for the article, and I don't really know too much about his backstory at all. So I learn a few things here and stuff, and it's always, like I do on this channel, combined, lore and rules and all that sort of thing. So, but the sweet bit, what I'm sure a lot of you people are after, are going to be his Warscroll. So the top little bit's cut out, but you should be able to see there's Move His Star, he's got a 2+ save, Bravery 10, and it says 18 wounds there. That's pretty good. 2+ save, I think we already knew that. I think they told us his shield did that anyway, but 18 wounds, so he's pretty chunky. He's nothing like 25 or 30 though. It's not like a Mega Gargant despite his size, but that rock, like I always say, he's standing on does add towards it. But it says his description. So, Kragnos, the End of Empires, is a named character that is a single model. He is armed with the Dread Mace, Tuskbreaker, and Hooves of Rack and Ruin even. It feels like it should be probably Doom written somewhere in here. If Kragnos is included in an army whose general has the destruction keyword, Kragnos is treated as being the general in addition to the model that is chosen to be the army general. I really like that. We've seen that in the, I think it was Soulblight Gravelords. I repeatedly read that. So that sounds like that's something in Age Sigmar 3. Maybe that's going to be carried forward. That not all, but some named characters, especially when it like narrative fits the army they're going into, even if you don't choose them to be the general, they are the general. So as long as command traits and stuff stay the same going into Age of Sigmar 3rd edition, it means you'll always be able to have that command trait. What I really like, because sometimes if I look at like Legion of Night, for example, with Manfred, like if you want to include Manfred, he had to be the general, right, in Legions of Nagash. But now I believe it is he's in the army, he's treated as being the general, even if he's not the general. So whereas before Manfred was worse as well, which made you not want to take him as much. But even if you wanted to take Manfred, it was the question of, well, if I just want to put him in the army as a punt, I then have to make him the general, which, you know, narratively makes sense, but then I'm missing out on my command trait. So it's just another reason not to take him. And that's some of the problems that some of the named characters have had in Age of Sigmar. So it's nice to see that they are fixing that. And because this is the first time we've seen that, I believe, outside of the new Soulblight Gravelords battle tome, it looks like it's going to be a thing going forward. So that is good. But going on to his weapons, I just want to say, like, the 2+ save, like, a Mystic Shield stays the same to get, right, reroll 1s to save. Really quite hard to take down unless he's got like no mortal wound protection and stuff, but we'll have a look at that in a moment. So his weapons. So the first thing is the Dread Mace. So this is a 3-inch range, 6 attacks, 3 to hit, 2 to wound, -3 rend, damage 4. So it's as good as you're going to get in Age of Sigmar, unless it's basically a 2 to hit. But so the 3-inch range is fantastic, especially the size of his base. It might make it hard for him to get into certain areas. So the 3-inch range is nice. The 3+ to hit is good. There's probably more ways in destruction to give yourself pluses to hit than pluses to wound. So the fact that he's wounded on 2s is fantastic. -3 rend. Very few things in the game can beat that. Like I know Volturnus, if he from the INF Deepkin gets a certain, is it a hit or to wound with his sword? It could be -5, or a Necropolis Stalker from Ostrich Bone Reapers, you could make -4. But like they're very minute examples. Whereas just having -3 flat and 4 damage flat is brilliant. 4 damage is so much better than, like, I don't know, D6 or something like that. It's great. So yeah, that's solid. Then we have Tuskbreaker. So this is a 1-inch range, 3 attacks. So 3s to hit, 2s to win, -2 rend, D3 damage. So that's like the shield from Gorkamorka. So no, nice little damage there, but D3 is obviously swingy, but reliable to make your enemy do some save rolls, and pretty reliable to make your enemy fail those save rolls in that -2 rend. And then you got Hooves of Rack and Ruin. So this is a 1-inch range. You start with 6 attacks, 3s to hit, 2s to wound, -1 rend, 2 damage. Lovely. This whole thing is hitting on 3s and 2s. You know, hitting on 3s, and wounding on 2s, which is great. And I'm really glad that those Hooves of Rack and Ruin are 2 damage, not just 1, because it might seem like a minute thing in the entire Warscroll, but just the fact that it's 2 rather than 1 makes it exciting. If it was 1, it's just like every other bloody horse you got knocking around. So yeah, I like that. And just to say with his move, so it's a star, but it starts off at 10, and then it goes down to 7 when he's taken 16 damage basically. So it gets worse over time. Obviously, refers to damage table. So he's not the fastest thing. Something just to note, he's not like crazy movement like 16 or something. He's not the fastest, and I presume he does not fly, as it doesn't look like he's got that rule. So yeah, just bear in mind he's a bit slow, but when he gets to you, it's going to really hurt. And then we've got the ability. So we've got Bellow of Rage. So it says at the end of any phase, if any wounds were allocated to this model in that phase and not negated, roll a dice for each other unit and each defensible terrain feature within 6 inches. So I don't know if that means like when you get in the like Realmsgate engine for the Seraphon, or you're in a Caradon Overlord ship, because I don't think that's like Garrison. So maybe a defensible terrain feature. It might just be something we've already got in the core rules. So I know there's a bunch of terrain stuff in the core rules that like barricades and stuff. I don't think I've ever played with the barricade rule. Like it, I don't know what it means. My opponent never know what it means. Just ignore it basically. But maybe in 3rd edition, defensible terrain feature is going to be a much more important on the table. So that's interesting. But what you do, so I'll read it again. So at the end of any phase, if any wounds were allocated to this model in that phase and not negated, roll a dice for each other unit and each defensible terrain feature within 6 inches of this model. If the roll is equal to or greater than the Bellow of Rage value shown on this model's damage table, that unit suffers D3 mortal wounds, or that defensible terrain feature is demolished. So is it equal or greater? Okay, so the less damage he's taken, the unit roll a 5 or more, so a third of the chance of it going off, but obviously the more damage taken, like when he's only got 2 wounds left basically, you need to roll a 2 up for this to go on, so that's pretty good. Especially like splash damage in Age of Sigmar, unless like the whole army's got like army-wide healing or something like that. Splash damage definitely is good, you know, to take out like little characters and all those sorts of things that only have like a few wounds. So yeah, that is good. I like that. And to try and, when the enemy's like tagged you with a unit that now only has 2 wounds remaining or something, just to try and get rid of it. So that is very useful. And then it says designer's note. So if a defensible terrain feature is being garrisoned when it is demolished, roll a dice for each model in the garrison. On a 1, that model is slain. The surviving models from that garrison must be set up within 6 inches of the terrain feature and more than 3 inches away from enemy units. So that answers the question without hopefully an FAQ needing to come up for that specific rules. That's good. And then we got the Destroyer of Draconif Empire. So you can reroll charge rolls and hit rolls for attacks while it is within 12 inches of any enemy Star Drakes, Dracofs, or Dracolines. So basically, so a lot of Stormcast things, but when it's Drakes, maybe that's the same as like a Magma Drop might have it, or a Mega Boss, a Maw Crusher might have it, or a Black Dragon. I don't think so, like on things like the Magma Drop and the Maw Crusher and stuff, but maybe there's a few things just outside of Stormcast, and it's nice that you don't, what it says, you can reroll charge rolls and hit rolls, so it's nice that you don't already have to be within 3 inches of a Drake to reroll your hit rolls. You can just do it anyway, and bear in mind you hit on 3, so that's useful, but I don't think it will come up that much. But it's nice that it's not just Star Drakes, because that would be really specific. But yeah, I don't think that'll come into play, but when it does, that's cool. Stormcast players, look out, basically. Now you got Rampage in Destruction. So after this model makes a charge move, you can either roll a dice for each enemy unit that is within 1 inch of this model, or you can pick one enemy monster within 1 inch of this model and roll 2d6. If you roll a dice for each enemy unit within 1 inch of this model, on a 2+, that unit suffers D6 mortal wounds. That's really, bear in mind how big the base this thing's on. That's a huge amount of mortal wounds, especially like when it says, you know, its potential, I think, what was it, 36 mortal wounds or something they said a maximum potential it could do. I presume, yeah, okay, I'll read the next bit before I make presumptions, but it then says, if you pick one enemy monster within 1 inch of this model, roll 2d6, and on a 7, nothing happens. That's boring. On any other roll, that's exciting actually, yeah, that's good, okay, I'll take that. That monster suffers a number of mortal wounds equal to the score of the dice used for the 2d6 roll multiplied together. For example, a 2d6 roll of 2 and 6 would inflict 12 mortal wounds. Okay, so yeah, so if you roll 2 6s, that's 6 times 6, which is 36. So I see how that's happened. I'm glad I didn't say the thing earlier. So obviously that's quite hard to get off, but what's the average? Let's say you get 2 3s, just like on a low average, let's say. There's 9 mortal wounds to the enemy monster, which, unless they're one of the proper big guys, if they're a Mega Gargant, you know, the Corn Dragon, if anyone's knocking that, I mean, this makes my Corn Dragon feel sad, all this stuff, because the Corn Dragon does, you know, D3 mortal wounds and a 4 up, which is on a 4 or 3, something like that. It's really quite sad. But unless you're going against one of those big things, this is going to pretty much kill most monsters, and it will certainly finish it off in combat. So yeah, that's really good. And I was just going to say that, like, on this one, it's like each enemy, you know, unit within 1 inch of him, he's got a big base. But let's say Somehow he managed to tag like 3 enemy units. I was going to say 4, but that's probably maybe a bit unrealistic, but 3 at most maybe, let's say, when you do the charge. Because it's only the 1-inch range. That's 3 d6 mortal wounds you're doing to the enemy, like on 2s up, which is really quite good. So then we have Icon of Destruction. So, add 1 to the Brave characteristic of friendly destruction units wholly within 12 inches of this model. I mean, yeah, that's cool. It's not great. It's not. Bear in mind how much they like the sound of this guy. You think it would be +2, but there we are. +1. Better to have that ability, not to have it, especially in destruction where bravery is not the greatest strength, and especially if, like, I'm hoping Battleshock's going to become a more important thing in 3rd edition. It then says this shield inviolate. So each time this model is affected by a spell or an endless spell ability, you can roll 3d6. If the roll is greater than the casting value of that spell or endless spell, ignore the effects of that spell or that endless spell ability on this model. Designer note, use the casting value on the spell or endless spell's Warscroll, not the casting roll for the spell or endless spell. Oh, sorry. That's really good. I think we've seen that before, so I'm not like that sounds very familiar. But that's really good. So you're not killing this guy with spells, sorry, each basically, especially how it has to be the casting value, not what you rolled on your dice or what you chose with your dice. And then the last bit, and to a lot of people the important part, which is you can include Kragnos in a destruction army, even if he does not have the army's keyword on its Warscroll. If you do so, he cannot use or benefit from any of the army's allegiance abilities, and you cannot include any mercenary units, in your army. So just to say with that, I don't think people really care too much about mercenaries at the moment in time, but it just narrows out the thing that he can't use any of the allegiance abilities, which kind of sucks really, because we get to the end of his Warscroll, he's Destruction Monster Hero Kragnos, so like very few amount of keywords there. Now what this obviously comes down to, I mean, like, as far as I'm aware, there's no points to this guys yet. I mean, this is not like from a bit of a leak, this is straight from GW, so they just haven't given us the points yet, which is like fair enough. I thought they maybe would have down here, but they haven't. So although it's really cool to read this and say, oh, that's good, that's good. I mean, I stand by everything I say in this video, how I review it. But because we haven't got his points, like, let's say, like, this looks really good and all that sort of thing. Oh, yeah, definitely take him my destruction army. Yeah, 100, like, with those rules, yeah, 100%. And I go, yeah, by the way, it's 900 points. It's like, oh, okay, well, I'm not taking him then. So we don't know how many points he's going to be. 900, which is the number I picked out of thin air, but Nagash is 915. I don't know how the fuck he's that expensive in points. So with Kragnos, maybe I reckon he'll be like 800 points, something like that, because he can do a lot of stuff. He doesn't, like, unless there's the allegiance for him in Broken Realm Kragnos, which I'm presuming so. Like, there's going to be a new allegiance come out for him, like mixed destruction and stuff. Unless he adds a lot of stuff there. His Warscroll doesn't really add anything to a destruction army apart from just more destruction, if you understand. But without the points, let me know what you guys think what the point's going to be. I reckon it will be 700 to 800. I reckon 800 points for this guy. But let me know what you think his points are going to be. I don't think they'll be that cheap. Like, when I mean that cheap, I mean I don't think they'll be 500 or below or anything like that, or 600 even, because it'll be like, I don't think he'll end up being like a must-have for, a destruction player. I think it'll be like, I'm taking him mainly because I think all of his rules are cool. I don't think he's worth his points, but I think all his rules are cool. We'll have to wait and see. But I reckon 800 points. Let me know what you guys reckon he's going to be in the comments down below. It'd be great to hear, and what you think of his rules. And also his lore as well, because we did go through that as well. So I think, like I said, I want to go through his lore and stuff. If you're just watching this video just for the Warscroll, obviously you could skip the start, but you're already here. But yeah, that's what we got on him. I've already done 2 videos today, so I'm going to call this one here, so it hasn't gone on for too long. Probably about, I don't know, 20 minutes. I don't like guessing how long my videos go on anymore. But yeah, let me know what you think of him. If you did enjoy the video, make sure you smash the like button, subscribe button, and bell notification by those 3 buttons. Massively helps out the channel. It's absolutely free, which is the best part. By liking the channel, it means, well, hopefully liking the channel, but by liking the video as well, What that means is that it shows to me that you guys are enjoying this sort of content, so be it news or the fact that it's destruction or Kragnos. If you want to see more destruction, Kragnos news content, like the video. It also shows to YouTube that people are enjoying this video, so hopefully it will allow YouTube to be able to say to people you might like this video and suggest it to them by subscribing to the channel. At the end of the day, that is how the channel grows. So I think about something like a fifth of everyone who watches my channel subscribes. So if you could just press that subscribe button, it would make a huge difference. Like, imagine that if everyone who watched the channel subscribes, well, the channel would be 5 times the size, which would be amazing. But if you could just click that subscribe button if you haven't already, that'd be great. By pressing the bell notification means you'll never miss a future one of my videos if you're enjoying a particular series at the moment, or when it comes to things a lot at the moment like news. Because although there's been a lot of news been covering with like Broken Realms and Soul Blood Gravelords, and you know, Soul Blood Gravelords is out now, so like I will be doing reviews and stuff on it. But you know, news-wise, that's sort of gone down. And Broken Realms, this is the last one. Third edition's coming out, and I'll be doing a lot of news videos on that, so don't you worry at all. And what I'd like to say as well, if you've got any more questions or anything like that, or like I said, your thoughts on Kragnos, particularly in this video, let me know that in the comments down below in this video. It'd be great to see that. And if you haven't seen already, I have done the price leaked video that I mentioned earlier. I literally did it a couple of hours ago. You can check it out on the channel. It's my last video. Talks about Kragnos' price, other price of models in this Broken Realm Kragnos coming out. So, you know, Lord Kroak, the new Slaanesh, like, Keepers of Secrets, ones like the Voice of Slaanesh and the Talon Slaanesh, the Witch Hunters, some box sets. You know, there's 4 box sets coming out for Broken Realm Kragnos, so go check out my last video to get all the details on that if you haven't. And what I'd like to say as well is, if you would like to support the channel a step further, I have got a Patreon, and you can become a member here on YouTube for Age of Nagash. What does that mean? So if you were to click the join button on the video, which you'll have seen right next to the subscribe button, will allow you to become a member here in Age of Nagash, where you can give anything from just £1 a month, goes straight towards keeping the channel going. It helps me out. Or you will find a Patreon link at the top of my description down below, where you can click. It takes you to my Patreon, where you can give just something from $1 a month. And honestly, like I always say, if it wasn't for these amazing people who support me, I wouldn't be able to do this. Like, the amount of time, resource and effort that goes into YouTube really is like, there's no profit to be made, or certainly for me anyway. But what these people allow me to do is they allow me to basically be able to justify everything I put into the channel, because they're willing to support me this much on a personal level. So if you want to become one of them, click the join button and the link to my Patreon down below. Either or, that would be absolutely amazing, and I'd be really grateful for anything you could give to help support the channel and keep it going, and help get people into Age of Sigmar and continue their Age of Sigmar journey, as I try and do on the channel, and spread the community that we all love and enjoy at the end of the day. But I want to say a massive thank you to my biggest supporter, which is going to be my Vampire Lord on Zombie Dragon, which is Filq. So thank you so much for your continued support of that tier. Filq, honestly, it makes a huge difference. Thank you so much for doing it for a while now as well. Really is going to help out the channel. And then my Morgasts, who's also been here for a while, is going to be Bleed Red. Thank you so much for your continued support of that tier. It does help a lot, so thank you so much. And then my vampires, which are Mir, Martin S, Rouse321, David A, Ronni H, Darren L, SpareBear, Christopher H, Northdrop, Nathan F, Andrew G, and Stence. Thank you all so much for your continued support. And like at that tier, it's the main bulk of what really helps keep the channel going. So thank you so much. And then my Necromancers, which is Jacq.l, RadiationRiley, AW77, Dice Sagas, WolfNick, Michal W, Cranky Wombat, Madcap, Christopher C, Christopher F, James S, Thomas B, Steve T, James T, Patrick F, JJ and R Christopher. Thank you so much for your continued support. All of you make all this possible. If you're watching this video now, I'm presuming that you're enjoying the content, so if you could join the channel membership or support on Patreon, that would be amazing. But if you can't, no worries at all. The main thing is that if you did enjoy the video, smash the like, subscribe, bell notification if you haven't already. Feel free to share this video with anyone you think who will like it. And there is a link to my Discord as well in the description of this video, where you can join the Discord. We have loads of new people joining all the time, asking loads of questions, and we have loads of nice and thoughtful people in the Discord helping people get into Age of Sigmar. And we always have lots of chat and topics about, like, Broken Realm Kragnos, for example, going on now. Like, my phone keeps going off because of all the conversation stuff going on that. So you can join the Discord if you'd like to join with the community. But above everything else, guys, thank you so much for coming and watching this video today, especially if you watched my video from earlier today. Thanks for watching 2 videos today on the channel. Really appreciate that. Hope you have a great rest of your day. Remember, until next time, to stay safe, hygienic, make sure you wear a mask, and for God's sake, wash your hands. So hopefully by time Broken Realm Kragnos comes out and Kragnos, the model comes out, you'll be able to see his destruction on the tabletop. But above that and everything else, as cool as Kragnos is, don't forget, until next time, that Nagash is all, and all is one in Nagash.